Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Recently, a friend asked me how I complete most of my content, and to that question I answered that most of the time, I do LFG for a group and play solo. So for activities like Master King's Fall, Master Catch Crash, I am using LFG. I had a crew I used to roll with, but now I find that my schedule doesn't work for most people. But because I run solo a lot, I needed to develop good builds in order to get higher level content done. Like trying to complete the Master's Totem Challenge without a good group or a good build was damn near impossible. So the purpose of today's video is that I want to show you guys a build I came upon and I started tweaking so it suited my playstyle. This build is basically dubbed the name Bulletproof, mainly because it doesn't revolve around any particular exotic. Like as soon as you set up the subclass Solar 3.0 right, you don't need any particular exotic to make this build work. And this build revolves around a lot of gunplay. More specifically, it revolves around a lot of solar gunplay. So the weapons I choose to run with this build include the BXR, the Callus Mini 2, Zalu's Bane, and so forth. Things like that nature. But this build is 100% a solid build to run and pick up if you are trying to get high level content done. So let's jump straight into the subclass. For the super of choice, we're going to be using Well of Radiance. That's a no-brainer. Always running Well of Radiance unless you want to run Daybreak and then spam special finishers for your group if that's what the group needs. For the Rift, we are using Empowering Rift only because I like, so buffs don't stack with each other. So if I don't have Radiant proc, I will use my Empowering Rift, and since I'm getting a lot of healing back from the healing grenade, Healing Rift kind of defeats the purpose. But if you feel like your group needs a Healing Rift, then you can switch it. I switch back and forth just depending on the level of content and if I feel like I'm doing enough healing by myself. So the other two abilities, I switch between Celestial Fire and Incendiary Snap. Right now we're going to be using Celestial Fire only because with this melee we want to proc Radiant. So as soon as possible we just want to proc Radiant, so I'm just throwing out Celestial Fire and proccing Radiant. For the grenade of choice, this will be the healing grenade, and the reason why is because when we combine this with the Touch of Flame aspect, the healing grenade has an increase. It improves the strength and it enhances the functionality of this healing grenade. So instead of getting restoration times 1, you're going to be getting restoration times 2 with this healing grenade. So that's why we are picking up this healing grenade. For the other aspect, you can swap between these two aspects, but I use Icarus Dash, and sometimes you can use Heat Rises, but it's going to be counterintuitive because with Heat Rises you're going to need to consume your grenade. So pick up Icarus Dash and then pick up Healing Grenade. The Rift is your choice, and then the melee is also your choice, but this is what I'm running. Now for the fragments, some of the most important pieces of the build. The first fragment will be Ember of Solace. So anytime you gain Radiant or Restoration, Radiant from a melee or Restoration from a grenade, it's going to have an enhanced duration. Sometimes you just need a little bit longer to kill enemies, so this is why I want to pick up Ember of Solace. The second fragment will be Ember of Empyrean. This is very important. Any solar weapon kill or ability final blows extend the duration of Restoration or Radiant, and keep in mind we're proccing Restoration from our grenade and Radiant from our melee. The third fragment we want to use will be Ember of Torches so that we can become Radiant. This is a free 25% damage buff anytime you hit an enemy with your Celestial Fire. It's free, so just pick it up and you won't be disappointed, especially when you're running higher level content and the ads are chunky. The last fragment is completely up to you. Right now we're going to be using Ember of Ashes only because we are using an incandescent weapon so that we can apply more scorch stacks to our target so they can ignite. That's why. But the last fragment you can choose, the first 3 fragments, is what makes this build work. We're becoming Radiant, we're extending our duration with Radiant because we have a longer duration through Ember of Solace, and then any kill or final blow with our abilities will extend the duration to the already extended duration from Ember of Solace. So you need to pick up these 3 builds. You're going to need Touch of Flame aspect, and you're going to need a healing grenade. That's how you set the build up, and that's where it starts to synergize. Now the last fragment, like I said, is completely up to you. You can just play around with it and see what you like and don't like. Now jumping straight into the mods. The mods just add on to the build, including the exotic, but the most important part is the Solar 3.0 subclass. The first setup I do run will be with Phoenix Protocol, only because sometimes in activities you are spamming your Well of Radiance a lot. Going back to Master Totems, you are just popping your Well of Radiance a lot just to stay alive when you're doing high level content. So this is a super solid choice. The other choice for this would be the Stag. So let's think of the Golgoroth encounter when you have to do DPS in 6 different pools. You might not have well for each different pool, but the stat gives you that damage reduction, so you're able to survive when you need to do DPS in unforeseen circumstances there when people don't have wells. So those are the 2 exotics I typically run. You can even switch up the exotics and run, lunar factions or even boots of the assembler. It completely just depends on your playstyle, but for right now in this build we're going to be using Phoenix Protocol. The mods we do have currently will be elemental ornaments. The reason for that is because with Celestial Fire we're making ourselves radiant, so our Callous Mini Tool will deal an extra 25% damage, and when we get kills with our Callous Mini Tool, it's going to have a chance to spawn an elemental well that matches our subclass, and we are on solar, so it's going to be a solar elemental well. The next mod we do have will be Font of Might. So buffs do not stack, but the Font of Might is not considered a buff. Technically, it's considered an amplification. So Font of Might and Radiant do stack with one another. So that's going to be an extra 20% damage on top of the 20% damage on top of the 25% we're getting from Radiant. So almost a 40% increase just for free. All you're doing to get this is just getting kills and then hitting enemies with your melee. The third elemental mod we will run will be Well of Life. You guys put this on to me a while ago. This just increased the our regeneration for a short period. Since they did nerf restoration times 2, this is just an extra way to get restoration times 2 to back where it was pre-nerf. So they did nerf it, and now Well of Life gives you the extra healing to get it back to where it should have been in the first place, or where it was before they nerfed it. And then the last 2 mods are completely up to you. I like Striking Light because Striking Light has an extra perk on the bottom that you gain damage resistance while sprinting. A lot of people don't know about that, but you're always sprinting, always on the move, and any kind of extra damage resistance you need, any kind of extra damage resistance you can get for free is a no-brainer, so I always choose to pick it up. Especially if you're doing high level content, going back to Totem Challenge when you're running across from one point to go swap the buff in the middle of the room. You're always sprinting, so this is a no-brainer. And if you have the extra mod slots. I do not have, and then on my boot I do not have any other elemental well mod. So the elemental wall mods that you do need for this build that you should consider is elemental armaments and Well of Life. The other 2 are completely up to you. I do use Font of Might, giving you an extra 20% damage on top of the 25% you're already getting, and then I do use Striking Light just so we can gain extra damage resistance while sprinting. And that is it for the build. So the weapons of choice you can use would be the Callous Mini Tool, the Zalu's Vein, or even the BRX. Those 3 weapons are really good this season, is really strong, especially on Solo 3.0. And like I said before, you are getting a lot of buffs to your character on top of the healing grenade from restoration. That is the build. I will have a dim link in the bio. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.